Since signing for Manchester United for a whopping 100 million euros, there's a lot of buzz around Antony the player and Antony the person. When United signed him, there was a lot of skepticism about whether he will succeed at Old Trafford. The 100 million prize tag did not weigh on him as the Brazilian scored on his debut in a 2-1 win over Arsenal at home. But a few years ago, Antony was an unknown figure but had bags of potential while playing in the streets of Brazil. A move to Ajax changed his life for good, but we still need to talk about how the talented winger became one of the most exciting young players in Europe. Growing up, life was never easy for Antony. His father worked hard to provide for his family, but his dad was driven to keep his family close. While there were times when life was testing, the family ensured that all their children got the right tools to face the world. They went to the best schools. Antony's talent stood out, so his father ensured that he got his son enrolled in a school with a good football program. Between the age of 5 and 9, Antony was viewed as one of the best players in the city of Sao Paulo. According to former Sao Paulo executive director Alexander Pissarro, Antony was always a humble person and was always focused on doing well in the long run rather than working for short-term gains. And Antony always took on every challenge head-on. Real pressure was when I lived in a favela and left for school at 9 in the morning, not sure whether I would be able to eat again until 9 in the night. That's some pressure. Otherwise, we can all adapt, Antony said. In 2018, Ajax were willing to pay 3 million euros for him, but the Brazilian giants rejected the offer. While the young forward was slightly disappointed, he understood that his teachings in Brazil were not finished yet. A few years later, he was sold for even more than that. At the age of 22, Antony might look like a young player who's still getting used to playing in one of the best leagues in the world, but his maturity and willingness to keep learning and do well under a manager shows us a side of him few young players have. From a boy who did not have boots to play or a bed to sleep on, Antony has indeed come a long way. I lived in the very middle of the favela. 20 yards from my house there were drug dealers. Sometimes you would be watching a game on a Sunday and there would be that smell, a smell of cannabis coming into the house. But being in Brazil can have its advantages. For instance, the young winger had a lot of support from Dani Alves, who defended Antony when he was being criticized for spending too much time on trickery. The legendary fullback said that he always knew how great Antony would become. And if his performances in the Netherlands are anything to go by with, we can see a true star of the future. Antony is among a long line of stars who had to overcome suffering and hardship to be where they are today. A lot of players allow fame to get the better of them, but Antony is as grounded as you'd expect. While he's definitely on a lucrative deal at Old Trafford, he knows that he has a lot of work to do. Since moving to Ajax, Antony hasn't looked back. In 82 competitive games for Ajax, the youngster scored 24 goals and provided 22 assists. His performances in the Champions League were phenomenal. The way he took on players with great confidence and made them look like amateurs showed what a phenomenal talent the Dutch giants had among their ranks. 2 league titles and being a driving force behind those triumphs means that Antony already knows what it takes to win. There was a reason why Erik ten Hag wanted him the moment he joined United. The Dutch tactician spent most of the summer transfer window focused on trying to get Frankie de Jong. But when that move did not happen, attention turned toward Antony, who eventually forced his way out of Ajax. And while there is a feeling that both men have burned bridges by their actions in the last few days of the transfer window, Manchester United have gotten themselves a player who brings the spark that Old Trafford has been missing for a while. Not many players managed to start and score on their debut, but then again, Antony was never just another player. The Brazil international started the crunch encounter against Arsenal and scored the first goal of the game. Throughout the encounter, we saw how he loved taking on opponents, and there were some flashes of brilliance here and there. If Manchester United are to wake up from their self-induced slumber, they need players like Antony to excite the fans and offer them some hope. United have a star in the making, and with Erik ten Hag at the helm, we can definitely see the youngster becoming a true force of nature for club and country. With Brazil set to feature at Qatar 2022, there's a likelihood that we'll see some fireworks from their latest sensation. And if he is able to do that at club level, we're definitely in for a treat in the coming months. So guys, this is our take on Antony and how he became one of the most expensive players of all time. Do let us know your thoughts on the winger, and before we go, please make sure to check out our video on how Erik ten Hag plans to make Manchester United great again. Till next time.